What?
What?
What the hell is this?
Harumph. I didn't get a harumph out of that guy.
Give the governor harumph.
Harumph? You watch your ass.
I see you shiver with anticipation.
Let the show begin.
Hey everybody, this is David Heretic coming at you with another edition of Reactions, Reviews, and Rants. And tonight, alright, we're coming back to U2. Yes, indeed. U2 fans, feeling you. Come on now. Here we go. Before we go any further, for those of you who are feeling inclined to doing all of the clicks and the likes and the bibbity-bobbity-bop, do me a favor, before you do all that stuff, please watch the whole video first, okay? Give me a chance to actually earn those clicks and likes. Now, after the video's done, if you still feel like doing all those clicks and likes, then by all means, feel free to click away. This comes as a request from Steve Smith, and this is actually one of Steve's 3 prioritized requests for the month of September for being a gold tier member on the Patreon page. So, here you go, Steve. Hope you enjoy the show, man. Steve wanted to see me react to this. It is U2 with a tune called Helter Skelter. Now, have I heard this song before? No, I have not. To the best of my knowledge, this does not resonate with me in any way, shape, or form. However, there's always a possibility I may have heard the song in passing and I just don't realize it. So as always, if I start listening to the song and I suddenly go, wait a second, I recognize this song, I'll let you know.
That's the truth.
You know me, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Let's see, this was posted by In the Name of U2, okay? And the video has 1.3 million views. It'll get you there. Other than that, there's really nothing else left to say. Link to the original video will be down below in the video description for your viewing pleasure at your leisure. Let's get started. What do you say? Are you ready? Are you ready? Because here we go. All right, here we go. U2, Helter Skelter, Rattle and Hum HD. Okay, I just want to be fully transparent with everybody. I don't want to try and hide anything from anyone. I have heard this album in its entirety. It was background music, basically at a party. They put this album on. I was not paying attention to it, in all honesty. I was socializing. So, okay. There were a couple of songs that I heard and I went, I like that. I got to remember that song. And like I said, there were a couple of songs, like 2 or 3 on the entire album that really kind of caught my attention. So I just want to be honest with everybody. I have at some point heard this, but looking at the title, now wait a minute. I can't imagine U2 doing a cover. But then again, anything's possible in this world. How many songs are titled Helter Skelter? There's really only a couple that are not covers of the Beatles tune. Okay, this might, I can't believe I'm going to say this. This might be a cover of the Beatles tune Helter Skelter. It's possible, but I just cannot imagine U2 doing a cover, especially not on a live album. I mean, but then again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. There's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of anomalies here. I might recognize this from, listening to this song and listening to this album in its entirety. This might resonate with me. If that's the case, obviously I'll let you guys know. And then again, this might be a cover of the Beatles song Helter Skelter, which I really can't imagine, but it could be. So I don't know. I don't know. Even if that happens, I could still react to the cover. I'll know the original song, but I've never heard this cover. Well, okay, that's not true. I have heard this cover in passing, but I don't remember it. So there's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of anomalies, and we're going to have to really just kind of be touch and go with this one and kind of play it by ear, I guess. All right, let's do this.
All right, boy, let's do this.
Is this an audio recording? Could just be an audio. Don't not be a video.
Charles Manson stole from the Beatles. We're stealing it back.
Oh my gosh.
You go back to the top of the slide and you stop and you turn and you...
Okay. All right. Okay. So it's a cover. It's a cover of the Beatles tune. All right. So, boy, that didn't take long. I've heard the original song before. I'm familiar with the original song. So I cannot take the original song into account. Now, luckily, we have two things going for us. Number one, there's a live performance. Okay, if nothing else, I can do that. But this is also a cover. I've never heard you. Well, that's not true. I have heard them in passing do the cover, but I don't know if I'll recognize it or not. At the very least, bare minimum, I can react to the live performance. At the very least. So let's see how this goes. I might recognize this. I might recognize this cover. I don't know. I have to wait and see. Let's just start from, yeah, that's a good place to start. Right here. Let's stick it up.
When you get to the bottom, you go back to the top of the slide and you stop and you turn and you go for a ride. Then you get to the bottom, then you see me again.
Hey.
Do you, don't you want me to love you? Coming out fast and like you thought you. Tell me the answer. Ain't no love, but you ain't no dancer. Helter Skelter. Helter Skelter. Helter Skelter. Do you, don't you want me to make you? I'm coming down fast, now don't let me break you.
And those 16th notes.
Tell me the answer. You ain't no love, but you ain't no dancer. Helter Skelter. Helter Skelter. Helter Skelter.
If my memory serves, I'm not 100% sure about this, but if my memory serves me correctly, when Paul McCartney was playing the bass parts on this song, he was playing 8 notes. Dun, 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 dun. Just thundering with those 8 notes. It's interesting to see Adam playing 16ths. Dun, 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 dun. It adds a little extra oomph. Just a little extra attitude to the song. But on the flip side, 8 notes would be a little more, I guess the best way to put it would be a little more thunderous, just a little more impactful. Dun, 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 dun. Whereas the 16th notes add a little more of an attitude and a little more of a drive. It's interesting. It's an interesting contrast. If my memory serves, I could be wrong about this, but if my memory serves me correctly, Paul McCartney was playing 8s. So this is interesting right there. That's a nice little difference right there. I like that. I definitely like that. So far, they're definitely paying homage to the original, without question. They're not really taking, other than the bass playing, they're not really going down any different avenues. This is pretty much a carbon copy cover. You know, there's, like I said, there's a little difference in what the bass player is, in what Adam's doing in the bass approach, but other than that, it sounds just like the original. I gotta give props to Bono, man, hitting that note, man. I was like, wow, he got up there. All right. Good for him. I was wondering if he was going to be able to hit that. I wasn't 100% sure, but he nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. Good for him. Good for him. Let's finish this out and we'll get to the review.
Helter Skelter. Helter
I'm in a real quandary here. I'm in a real quandary. I'll explain what I mean by that in a little bit. Let me get my thoughts together. Let me see if I can figure this quandary out. And I'll see you in the review, and we'll talk all about it. Well, there you go, folks. That was U2 with a live performance, a live cover of the Beatles tune Helter Skelter. This was a request from Steve Smith. And this was actually one of Steve's 3 prioritized requests for the month of September for being a gold tier member on the Patreon page. So there you go, Steve. Hope you enjoyed the show. Oh boy. We ran into some serious speed bumps on this one. Okay, so let's just eliminate the problems one at a time. Okay, number one, this is a cover. Okay, clearly this is a cover. And I am very familiar with the original song. It's actually one of my favorite Beatles tunes. I'm not the big. I'm going to say something here I know may offend a lot of people. I'm not the biggest fan of the Beatles.
What's the matter with you?
Now, I will absolutely give all the credit in the world to them, and I absolutely respect the hell out of the Beatles for everything they've done for the world of music. I will absolutely give credit where credit's due. Having said that, though, there are not very many songs by the Beatles that I actually enjoy listening to. This is one of them, okay? And I'm very familiar with the original recording. So, luckily, this is a cover. This is not the original. So, there's that aspect, okay? So, we have a cover that I can react to. Now, here's the problem. Towards the end, this started to sound familiar. This particular cover started to sound familiar. What really triggered it for me is when he said, when Bono said one more time, when they did the chorus the second time toward the end, I was like, oh no, I recognize that. I recognize that. And then when the more and more I really zeroed in on the chorus, I was like, oh no, this is resonating with me. This is ringing a bell now. So here's what happened. I was at a party a long time ago. I'm not going to say how many years ago, but it was, let's just say it was less than 30, more than 10, okay? Somewhere in a 20-year gap. I was at a party, and it was one of those parties where, where a lot of musicians get together, usually after a concert, which is exactly what it was. It was after a show. And we were having a nice little get-together with the band and about, 20 or 30 of our close friends that, really enjoyed the show and whatnot. And it was at, I don't even remember whose house it was at. I honestly do not remember. But this was playing this video. This is, those parties where you go and somebody puts on a live concert video? It's one of those parties. So they put on, and I remember this is the exact same party where they also put on Pulse from Pink Floyd. This was after. So they did U2 Rattle and Hum to keep the party going, and then to wind the party down, they put on Pink Floyd Pulse. So I remember this. I remember it was those two videos back to back. Now, when you're at a party and there's background, noise happening or background, footage of a concert going on, you're not really going to pay attention to it. You're going to be socializing, you're going to be drinking, you're going to be eating, you're going to be having a good time with your friends, with your bandmates. You're not really going to be sitting there watching actually, that's not true. There's always those one or two guys that, sit down and plop down right in front of the TV, and that's all they do is just watch the concert footage. It's like, yeah, why'd you bother coming to the party? Why don't you just go home and watch this? Save yourself the time and trouble. So I remember that this was being played, and every once in a while I would glance at the television and I would see what was happening, and I go, oh, that's kind of neat. And I would go back to socializing. So, yeah, this did end up sounding familiar. So I can't even take the cover into account because I know and I recognize it and I know I've heard it before. So, and I did end up recognizing it. So I can't even take the cover into account. Now, having said that, though, I can take the live performance into account, and I can base my entire score, evaluation, and reaction to that live performance. So like I said, this was really touch and go. I had to really finagle things out, but I was able to come up with a solid reason to actually give this a score based on my reaction, based on a first time watch, okay? But to be perfectly clear, the original song is a non-factor, and I hate to say it, but even the cover is a non-factor because I've heard them both before. I am basing my evaluation of my score completely on the live performance, the visuals, what we saw, not what we heard, okay? So please keep that in mind. Having said that, taking the live performance and the visuals into account, basing on the 6 criteria that I have, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give that live performance a 7.8. Yup, 7.8. I feel good about that score. Let me tell you why.
Why?
Okay, first things first, a 7.8. What does that mean? Well, a 7.8 would translate to a really good skill rating because overall, I think this was a really good song. Not a really good song, my apologies, a really good live visual performance. Song's not a factor here. It would also get 4 to 5 stars and a B+ letter grade. Yeah, that's B as in boy. So 7.8, really good skill rating, 4 to 5 stars and a B+ letter grade. Now, how did I come up with that score? So glad you asked. Since this is completely based on the live visual performance, let's just go down the checklist and I promise you that will explain everything. Stage presence, check. Yeah, they got great stage presence. They look good. They look like performers. They act like performers. And I got absolutely no problem with their stage presence whatsoever. Stage energy, also getting a check. A lot of movement and motion on that stage. And not just from Bono. Edge was moving around. Adam was moving around. I'm sure if Larry was able to, I'm sure he would, be moving around. But he's kind of a slave to his instrument. So nothing we can do about that. But the 3 guys up front, they were moving around. No problem with that. Stage interaction, check. Yeah, there was a number of times they interacted with each other. There was the time that Edge interacted with Adam when they were facing each other during the guitar solo. There was that part on I think it was on the first chorus, where before the first chorus. No, it was right after the first chorus, I'm sorry, where they all 3 came up to the front side by side and were rocking out. There were a couple of the moments where Bono interacted with Edge and Bono interacted with Adam. So there was a number of times where we had stage interaction. So that absolutely gets a check. Crowd interaction. I'm going to give it a check, but it is a weak check. It was very casual. I couldn't really tell if Bono was interacting with the crowd or if he was just making theatrical gestures. Reaching up, closing the fist and bringing in like, Freddie Mercury style. Stuff like that. I never saw any deliberate gestures to the crowd. I never saw him look at the crowd when he was doing it. Now, maybe he was. Maybe the camera angles that we were seeing just weren't really showing. There were motions and movements aimed into the general direction of the crowd. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say yes, but there's nothing definitive. So I'm going to give them the check, but it's a weak check just because of uncertainty. Moving on, let's see. Showmanship. Yeah, check. Number of times where they were putting on a great visual show, really demonstrating some great showmanship between the interaction, the gestures from Bono, just the energy that was happening on stage, the movement and the motion. So yeah, they get a check for showmanship, definitely. Production. This is tricky. Whenever you're looking at black and white footage, you can't watch for color hues. You can't see if the hues are changing. You can't see if the colors are changing with black and white footage. Now, I will say, I was able to at least see when lights were going on, lights were going off. It did look like the light show was designed to go with the song. So again, I'm going to give it a check, but I'm going to give it a weak check because I'm not 100% sure the light show did look like it was designed, but I'm not 100% certain because I couldn't see any color changes. I saw lights going on and off, and I noticed that sometimes those on and off bushes would go in right in rhythm with the song. So again, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give it a check, but it's a weak check, okay? This is how I'm coming up with the 7.8. If we had had more definitive, this is really the big one. This is the reason why we're not up in the 8s. If I had seen more clear-cut evidence to support crowd interaction, more definitive evidence, more definitive motioning toward the crowd, interacting definitively with the crowd, we'd be up in the 8s guaranteed. I didn't really see it in the footage, so I can't say for certain. But I did see from the camera angles that I was seeing, I did see the movement and the motioning out to the audience in the general direction of the audience. So, like I said, I'm going to give it a check. It's a weak check. If it had been a much stronger check, oh yeah, we'd be up in the 8s without question. So this is how we're ending up at a 7.8, okay? It's not bad. It's actually a really good score for what I feel overall was a really good live performance. Remember, I'm not taking the song into account, and I'm not taking the cover into account. This score is based completely on the visual live performance, okay? So yeah, 7.8. I feel good about that score, and that's where we're going to stay. So let's wrap everything up here in a nice shiny bow, shall we? We have a 7.8, which is a really good skill rating, 4 to 5 stars, and a B+ letter grade. Take your pick. I don't care, whichever one of those floats your boat. Final word, final score, I have spoken. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Reactions, Reviews, and Rants. Hope you all enjoyed the show. Hope I was able to entertain you. If I was able to put a smile on your face and brighten your day, that did my job, and I'm so glad I could do it. If you guys feel like joining the fan base, go ahead and click on that button down there. If you guys want to like the video, go ahead and like the video. If you guys want to ring the bell, go ahead and ring the bell. It honestly doesn't make any difference at all to me, but if you guys feel like doing these things, well then, by all means, feel free to do so. Well, that's going to do it for tonight, folks. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, this is David Heretic signing off, reminding you to stay fabulous and support each other. Later. Peace.